Alright folks, we recently had a 6-day power outage here in Texas, and I came up with this little device to keep our phones charged up so we could stay in contact with the outer world. This isn't like one of those multi-purpose battery boxes you've seen other people do where they have a cigarette lighter and a voltmeter and all that. This is just a simple on-off switch, a USB charging port. It's got 2 ports, so my wife and I can both charge our phone at the same time. On-off switch. It shows the battery voltage, so you don't need a separate voltmeter. That's one thing I like about this particular charging port. There's no need for a separate dedicated voltmeter. And I just got this cheap little plastic craft box. It's not like an ammo can or anything. It's just big enough to hold one of these 12 volt 7 amp hour SLA batteries, and I've always got about 10 or 12 of these fully charged at all times. So if we run out of battery power during a long power outage, we just swap out for the next battery. This box isn't big enough to hold 2 or 3 of these ganged in parallel, but one will absolutely do the trick. We were able to keep our phones charged for 6 days with this one battery. And it's easy to wire. You just wire in your power switch, your USB charging port, run it to the battery. And there you go. We can keep it stashed over by the charging station, and when the power goes out, just go grab it, carry it out to the camping area, which in our case is the living room by the fireplace, and keep our phones charged up. So simple, cheap. It's not multi-purpose. It's just for phones and iPads and tablets and whatnot. But it absolutely does the trick. Alright, here's a couple details on the build. I cut the holes with a step bit. That was easy because it's just cheap, thin plastic. The wiring on this is really simple. You take your positive to the power switch, and the power switch has 3 blades. An outer silver, an inner silver, and an outer bronze. And you take the hot power into the switch through the outside, which is pin number 1. Then that takes positive over to the switch, to the charging port, and it's marked positive and negative. So you take positive to here. Then negative comes from here back to the negative pin, and then that negative pin connects back to the negative pole of the battery. It's really, really simple. Now you could actually go take your positive to the charging port and then take your negative straight back to the battery, but the only reason you need to use this negative terminal on the switch is because it'll light up the light. If you don't care about the light on the switch lighting up, you can just go positive to the positive terminal, positive out to the USB port, negative back to the battery, and it'll still work, just the light won't light up on the switch. But it's handy to have the light just as an indicator. We turn this off after we're through with it. I don't know how much power that lamp draws, but I don't want to wear down the battery when we're using it and depending on it to charge up our phones. So that's why I put the power switch. You could actually just connect this thing straight to the battery with a wire and not mount it on anything. That's a really quick, cheap way to do this. Just connect this charging port straight to the battery with a wire, and it'll work. You don't need to build it into a box. The reason I built it into a box was because it's easier to handle the on-off switch rather than holding it out in midair. So it just makes a slightly cleaner build. But you just cut your holes with a step bit. It's really simple to wire. It's not difficult at all. And that thing will work perfect to charge up your phone. And since we're using this in the house, I don't even need the waterproof cover. I could just leave that off. That's not necessary. And you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's charging. It's charging the phone. So that's it.